Do you want to successfully complete the WGU D303 Objective Assessment for Azure Fundamentals course? Then you're in the right place. Our website provides a list of questions and answers with an emphasis on preparing for your success in the Azure Fundamentals D303 course. In this video, we will cover questions from Azure Cost Management, Azure Security and Compliance, Azure Resource Management, Azure Availability and Reliability, Azure Services and Functionality. So, let's get started. 1. How can the IT department reduce the number of times users must authenticate to access multiple applications? A. Multi-factor authentication. B. Single sign-on. SSO. C. User training. D. Role-based access control. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Implementing Single sign-on, SSO, allows users to authenticate once and gain access to multiple applications without repeated logins. 2. How can Tailwind traders allow some users to control virtual machines without modifying networking and other resources? A. Azure policies. B. Role-based access control, RBAC. C. Resource locks. D. Tags. Can you guess the answer? Correct. Answer. B. Explanation. Creating a role assignment through Azure. Role-based access control, RBAC, enables specific users to control virtual machines while preventing changes to networking and other resources. 3. What is the best way for Tailwind traders to ensure that only cost-effective virtual machine SKU sizes are deployed? A. Use Azure Advisor B. Create a policy in Azure Policy. C. Manually review SKU sizes. D. Use a pricing calculator. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Creating a policy in Azure Policy that specifies the allowed SKU sizes helps enforce the use of cost-effective options automatically. 4. How can Tailwind traders identify which billing department each Azure resource belongs to? A. Use resource locks. B. Apply tags to each resource. C. Create separate subscriptions. D. Implement resource groups. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Applying a tag to each resource that includes the associated billing department allows for easy identification and categorization. 5. Where can the team access details about the personal data Microsoft processes? A. Azure Compliance Center. B. Microsoft Privacy Statement. C. Azure Support Portal. D. Microsoft Trust Center. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Microsoft Privacy Statement. Explanation. The Microsoft Privacy Statement provides comprehensive details about personal data processing by Microsoft. 6. Where can the legal team find information about how the Microsoft Cloud helps secure sensitive data? A. Microsoft Compliance Center. B. Microsoft Trust Center. C. Azure Security Documentation. D. Azure Support Portal. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. The Microsoft Trust Center contains information on data protection, compliance, and how Microsoft secures sensitive data. 7. Where can the IT department find reference blueprints for its Azure subscriptions? 𝗧𝗏. A. Azure Advisor. B. Azure Resource Manager. C. Azure Compliance Documentation. D. Azure Marketplace. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Explanation. Azure Compliance Documentation provides reference blueprints that can be applied directly to Azure subscriptions. 8. What is the best first step to compare the cost of running environments on Azure versus in their data center? A. Use the Azure Cost Management tool. B. Run the Total Cost of Ownership calculator. C. Review Azure pricing. D. Consult with a financial advisor. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. The total cost of ownership calculator provides a detailed comparison of costs between Azure and on-premises environments. 9. How can the development team ensure that they don't provision too many virtual machines at the same time? A. Implement a budget. B. Apply spending limits to the Azure subscription. C. Set up alerts for provisioning. D. Use resource quotas. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Applying spending limits to the development team's Azure subscription helps control the number of virtual machines provisioned at any given time. 10. What is the most efficient way for the testing team to save costs on virtual machines on weekends? A. Reduce the VM size. B. Deallocate virtual machines when they're not in use. C. Schedule VM shutdowns. D. Use spot instances. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Deallocating virtual machines when they are not in use helps save costs, as you are only charged for the storage of the VMs, not for compute resources. 11. How can resources in the dev and test environment be categorized by department? A. Create separate subscriptions. B. Apply a tag to each virtual machine. C. Use Azure Resource Manager. D. Set up resource groups. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Applying a tag to each virtual machine that identifies the appropriate billing department allows for cost categorization. 12. How do you compute the composite SLA for a set of services? A. Add the SLA of each service. B. Subtract the SLA of the least reliable service. C. Multiply the SLA of each individual service. D. Average the SLAs of all services. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Explanation. The composite SLA is calculated by multiplying the SLA of each individual service. 13. How can Tailwind traders offset the reduction in composite SLA when adding a third virtual machine? A. Increase the size of the existing VMs. B. Deploy extra instances of the same virtual machines across different availability zones. C. Use a load balancer. D. Scale down the existing VMs. Can you guess the answer? Correct. Answer B. Explanation. Deploying extra instances of the same virtual machines across different availability zones helps maintain high availability and offsets LLA reduction. 14. What approach might the company take in adding the augmented reality AR preview service to its architecture? A. Launch the AR service in production immediately. B. Create a prototype version of the app with the AR service for testing. C. Skip the AR service entirely. D. Develop the AR service in isolation without testing. Do you know the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation. Creating a prototype version of the app that includes the AR service allows the team to test it with select users' customers before full deployment. 15. Which tool provides guidance and recommendations to improve an Azure environment? A. Azure Monitor. B. Azure Advisor. C. Azure Security Center. D. Azure Policy. Do you know the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation. Azure Advisor provides personalized best practices and recommendations to improve the Azure environment. 16. Which service is best for monitoring web applications hosted in production environments? A. Azure Security Center. B. Azure Monitor. C. Azure Application Insights. D. Azure Advisor. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer C. Explanation. Azure Application Insights is designed to monitor web applications in production, providing performance and usage insights. 17. What solution is best for storing JSON documents with low latency access? A. Azure SQL Database. B. Azure Cosmos DB/C. Azure Table Storage. D. Azure Blob Storage. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation. Azure Cosmos. DB is optimized for storing JSON documents and provides low latency access to data globally. (18) Can resources that belong to the same resource group be in multiple locations? A. No. Resources must be in the same location. B. Resources can be in multiple locations. C. Only if using geo-replication. D. Only if they are of the same type. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation. Yes, resources in a resource group can span multiple locations. 19. If tags are assigned to a resource group, do the resources in that group inherit the same tags? A. Yes. B. No. C. Only certain types of resources inherit tags. D. It depends on the Azure region. Do you know the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation. Resources in a resource group do not automatically inherit tags assigned to the resource group. 20. Do resources in a resource group inherit the permissions assigned to that group? A. Yes. B. No. C. Only if the resource is created within the group. D. It depends on the resource type. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Explanation. Resources in a resource group inherit the permissions assigned to the resource group. 21. Can Azure Advisor provide recommendations on how to improve security in the Azure AD environment? A. Yes. B. No. C. Only for specific services. D. Only for Azure subscriptions. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Azure Advisor does not provide recommendations for improving the security of the Azure AD environment. 22. Which tool can be used to automate the deployment of Azure resources using infrastructure as code? A. Azure Resource Manager, Templates. B. Azure, 𝗓𝗏𝗃, Azure PowerShell. D. Azure SDK. Do you know the answer? Correct. Answer. A. Explanation. Azure Resource Manager templates enable the automation of resource deployment using infrastructure as code. 23. Is it necessary to deploy a federation solution to implement MFA for Azure hosted identities? A. Yes. B. No. C. Only for hybrid environments. D. Only for external users. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. It is not necessary to deploy a federation solution to implement multi-factor authentication, MFA, for identities hosted in Azure. 24. What should be used for monitoring and analyzing user login attempts from anonymous IP addresses? A. Azure Security Center. Tab B. Azure AD Identity Protection. C. Azure Monitor. D. Azure Policy. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Azure AD Identity Protection can be configured to detect risky login attempts, including those from anonymous IP addresses. 25. To ensure the resource groups contain a specific tag, what should be implemented? A. Azure Locks. B. Azure Policies. C. Resource Groups. D. Tags. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Azure policies can enforce the presence of specific tags in resource groups when they are created. 26. What would prevent accidental deletion of resources within a resource group? A. Resource groups. B. Tag C. Locks. D. Permissions. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Explanation. Applying locks to a resource group prevents accidental deletion or modification of the resources within that group. 27. Which support plan includes regular architecture reviews from Microsoft? A. Basic Support. B. Standard Support. C. Professional Direct Support. D. Premier Support. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. Explanation. The Premier Support Plan includes regular architecture reviews from Microsoft. 28. How does Microsoft compensate customers for downtime exceeding the SLA? A. Discount on future bills. B. Refund. C. Service credits. D. Free month of service. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Explanation. Microsoft provides service credits to customers for downtime exceeding the agreed SLA. 29. Which service provides an idea of costs incurred when hosting resources in Azure? A. Azure Cost Management. B. Azure Pricing Calculator. C. Azure Budgeting Tool. D. Azure Advisor. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. The Azure Pricing Calculator gives an estimate of the costs incurred when hosting resources in Azure. 30. What is the primary goal when hosting a mission-critical application in Azure? A. Minimize costs. B. Ensure maximum uptime. C. Simplify management. D. Enhance performance. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Ensuring maximum uptime is crucial for mission-critical applications to maintain service availability. Struggling with your WGU exams? We've all been there. Welcome to OAExams.com, your ultimate resource for WGU success. Find over 15,000 plus questions and answers. Join our thriving community of over 10,000 active WGU students and an impressive 100% success rate with our premium exam support. Visit OAExams.com today and take the first step toward guaranteed success. 31. Which Azure services can be used to ensure application availability during region-wide failures? A. Load Balancer. B. Availability zones and availability sets. C. Traffic Manager. D. Resource groups. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Deploying resources across availability zones and using availability sets helps maintain application availability during region-wide failures. 32. Which storage tier is suitable for infrequently accessed data? A. Hot storage. B. Cool storage. C. Archive storage. D. Standard storage. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Cool storage is designed for data that is infrequently accessed and stored for at least 30 days. 33. What is the ideal Azure service for an enterprise messaging solution? A. Azure Service Bus. B. Azure Event Grid. C. Azure Logic Apps. D. Azure Functions. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Explanation. Azure Service Bus provides a robust messaging service for enterprise applications. 34. What is the recommended approach to reduce costs when hosting virtual machines for prolonged periods? A. Use premium disks. B. Use reserved instances. C. Use standard disks. D. Use Azure Advisor. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Purchasing reserved instances allows for significant cost savings on virtual machines over longer periods. 35. Which action is necessary when provisioning additional virtual machines beyond a subscription's limit? A. Restart the subscription. B. Upgrade the subscription plan. C. Raise a support ticket with Microsoft. D. Create a new subscription. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Explanation. Raising a support ticket with Microsoft is necessary to request an increase in the provisioning limit for virtual machines. 36. Which Azure feature helps manage user permissions effectively? A. Azure Active Directory. B. Azure Role-Based Access Control. C. Azure Policies. D. Azure Security Center. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Explanation. Azure Role-Based Access Control, RBAC, helps assign permissions to users and groups effectively. 37. Which Azure service is best for serverless execution of event-driven functions? A. Azure Functions. B. Azure App Service. C. Azure Logic Apps. D. Azure Web Jobs. Can you guess the answer? Correct. Answer A. Explanation. Azure Functions is designed for executing serverless code in response to events. 38. Which Azure service should be used for orchestrating workflows without managing the infrastructure? A. Azure Logic Apps. B. Azure Functions. C. Azure DevOps. D. Azure Automation. What do you think is the answer? Correct. Answer A. Explanation. Azure Logic Apps allows for workflow automation without the need for infrastructure management. 39. Which command line interface is used to manage Azure resources? A. Azure CLI. B. Azure PowerShell. C. Azure Portal. D. Azure SDK. What do you think is the answer? Correct. Answer. Explanation. The Azure Command Line Interface, CLI, is used for managing Azure resources through command line commands. 40. What service should be used for managing user access to Azure resources across multiple subscriptions? A. Azure Resource Manager. B. Azure Active Directory. C. Azure Management Groups. D. Azure Policy. Do you know the answer? Correct. Answer C. Explanation. Azure Management Groups allow management of user access to resources across multiple Azure subscriptions. 41. What is the primary benefit of using Azure virtual machines? A. Scalability. B. Cost. C. Customization. D. Redundancy. What do you think is the answer? Correct. Answer. Explanation. Azure Virtual Machines provide scalability to meet the changing needs of applications and workloads. 42. What storage type should be used for large volumes of unstructured data? A. Azure Tables. B. Azure Blob Storage. C. Azure SQL Database. D. Azure Cosmos DB. Do you know the answer? Correct. Answer B. Explanation. Azure Blob Storage is designed for storing large amounts of unstructured data efficiently. 43. Which Azure service allows for the secure storage of sensitive information, such as keys and passwords? A. Azure Vault B, Azure Key Vault. C. Azure Security Center. D. Azure Secrets Manager. Do you know the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation: Azure Key Vault securely stores secrets, keys, and certificates. 44. What allows Azure to maintain high availability during maintenance events? A. Scale sets. B. Availability sets. C. Load Balancer. D. Traffic Manager. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation: Availability sets help Azure keep VMs available during maintenance events by ensuring that VMs are distributed across different hardware. 45. What method can be used to control the cost of Azure resources effectively? A. Azure budgets. B. Azure spending limits. C. Azure Advisor. D. Azure Pricing Calculator. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. Explanation: Azure budgets allow users to set spending limits and get alerts when costs exceed set thresholds. 46. Which feature allows Azure to detect threats and anomalies in real time? A. Azure Security Center. B. Azure Monitor. C. Azure Sentinel. D. Azure Active Directory. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. A explanation: Azure Security Center helps detect threats and anomalies in real time, enhancing security posture. 47. Which Azure service should be utilized for centralized logging and monitoring of all Azure resources? A. Azure Monitor. B. Azure Log Analytics. C. Azure Application Insights. D. Azure Security Center. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation: Azure Log Analytics provides a centralized platform for monitoring and logging across all Azure resources. 48. Which Azure storage solution is best for application data that must be accessed over SMB? A. Azure Blob. Storage. B. Azure Files. C. Azure Table Storage. D. Azure Data Lake Storage. Do you know the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation: Azure Files is designed to be accessed over SMB and is ideal for file share scenarios. 49. What is the primary purpose of Azure Resource Manager? A. Deploy resources across multiple subscriptions. B. Create resource groups for management. C. Provide a management layer for Azure resources. D. Automate billing and cost management. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer C. Explanation: Azure Resource Manager provides a consistent management layer for deploying and managing resources in Azure. 50. What feature allows Azure to provide a secure multi-tenant environment? A. Azure Role-Based Access Control. B. Azure Active Directory. C. Azure Subscription. D. Azure Resource Manager. Do you know the answer? Correct answer B. Explanation: Azure Active Directory enables secure identity management and access control in a multi-tenant environment. You've reached the end of our first question set. For the complete exam preparation experience, visit us at OAExams.com, where you'll find thousands more practice questions and comprehensive study guides. Thanks for studying with us today. See you in the next video.